Come on, you go ahead.
You want to find a good book to read, then snap your fingers and follow me. At Black Girls Inc. will help you find that book, the perfect book for you to read. From Black authors that look like you and me, here on Black Girls Inc. with Sister Goose and Sugar Mommy. Here on Black Girls Inc.
My love.
I love that intro. Every time I hear that.
I know even the baby in here was beating to the music.
Yeah, my brother was over here singing too.
Yes. Hey everybody, welcome to Black Girls Inc. I'm your girl, Sister Cruz, and I have here with me my lovely host and co-host,
Mama, Sparkly Eyes.
and today we are starting part 2 of the women's panel for Black Women Struggle, featuring, go ahead Carla, go ahead and say your name and the title of your book. We're going to do like we did yesterday and order everyone's in.
Absolutely. Good evening. I'm Carla E. Criswell, and I am the author of my book, I'm Not Leaving You, I'm Loving Me.
Okay, and I'm Sultana. I'm the author. I don't have the books right by me tonight, but the 3-part Love, Sex, and a Single Mom series, Beaten by Love series, and Driving Me Crazy.
All right.
Sheena.
I'm Sheena Ganine, author of The Mask Behind the Mask, and also the author of Unbroken Pieces of a Mask. And then also I'm part of an anthology called Peace Out.
Yes.
All right. Hey, so this is Ashton Jones. I'm author of Black Women Need Love Too. That's this one right here. And I also have 2 other books, but they're fiction, psychological thrillers called Whispers in the Dark. It's a series. But today we're talking about Black Women Struggle.
Yes. So let's just get some snaps to the panel.
Hey.
Yes. Because all these women have books that have to do with our topic and things that we are going to be talking about. So these women were not just randomly chosen. They was chosen for the reason because of their books and this topic. So y'all ready to dive on in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's start our ladies' night, right? Everybody go ahead and take a sip of that cup. I got some water. That still counts.
That's good too.
Yeah, where is my water?
Here, look. She got water with you.
All right. So I support that. I knew your sister and I get along for a reason.
Yes.
Water all day.
There you go. So, our first question, and I'm going to start with Lista, aka Sparkling Eyes. I'm going to ask the question: do you feel that the women before you, that their baggage get put on you as you become a woman? Do you feel like the women before you put their baggage on you as you grow into a woman?
I do, because like when they say like about men, there's no good men out here because they had bad experience. That don't mean I'm gonna have that bad experience. True that.
Right.
So I do that. I think that they do.
Okay. Carla?
I think some of the things from my mom, I did carry over to me growing up. She was very quiet. She did everything on her own. Like, she just had that personality, that drive, that she would just rather do everything herself. You know, she'd rarely ask for help. And I grew up like that myself. Like, I would just rather do everything myself and not ask for help. And, you know, that really kind of broke me as I got into my late 30s, doing everything by myself, because I became overwhelmed with trying to balance everything. So I think from that perspective, I did gain that baggage from my mom, because she didn't really open up to anybody about what she was going through, the things she went through. She kind of just dealt with it on her own.
Okay.
Okay.
So Tom, yeah, now I'm gonna say it right. Don't say it. So Tana.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right now.
She got it right.
You
The
did.
women before me putting their baggage on me, I think so, but not even purposely. But like she was saying about like how they act. But I can like it's opposite for me. Okay, so I was close to my mom and my grandmom. My grandmom on my daddy's side, but my mom was still close to her too. But to make a long story short, some of the stuff I saw my mom go through, it kind of put on me that I don't want to go through it. But then some of the stuff I saw my grandma go through, I was like, I want to be like her. But as far as baggage, she was the person in the family everybody came to when they fell short or needed somebody. So I find myself taking that role. And I've been telling family lately, like, I don't want that role no more. I think I'm going to be selfish in 2021. Like, I'm tired of everybody's problems. I give you my advice. You don't listen. You don't get to come to me with problems like you used to do, Grandma, because it weighs heavy, so you can't let them do it.
Yeah.
Yes. Sheena.
I would agree. Like, you know, definitely like Carla said, like my mom was one of those women that took care of everything and she didn't really ask for nothing. And, you know, like me, I'm a single mom and you know I didn't go get child support. I figure if you gonna plan on giving me the money, I shouldn't have to put you down. And regardless, they're gonna get taken care of. So it's just I've gotten that, you know, that sense of okay, my mom took care of me by herself and she didn't ask for nothing. So I'm not planning on messing nobody either. I'm just gonna do what I gotta do. I had them. I know I didn't have them by myself, but you know, it is to each his own.
Yes. And so now I'm excited to hear your answer. Welcome to the panel.
Yay!
All right, so thanks. It's a pleasure to be on, and just want to do snaps to the people who joined today, just because I'm excited as well. So for all the audience, I see Nicole on. Hey, girl, but sorry, I just had to plug.
Nicole.
And then for everybody else who joined as well, I appreciate it. But with that being said, I do believe that a lot of times that baggage in general from our generation, our parents' generations, as well as the generations before us, has been placed on us. And for the most part, is because, and this is actually one I heard you guys talk about that independent woman and how you model yourself after not wanting to ask for help or assistance. Well, actually, that's part of the narrative that has been placed on us as Black women in America in general, is that strong, independent Black woman. And I too was raised to be a strong, independent Black woman to the point where I actually think sometimes the mothers pushes the daughter away in the hope of being that independent woman, because she want to teach their daughter that you only have yourself to rely on. And this has actually hurt us emotionally and physically in some cases, because we have a tendency to take on everybody else's issue but our own issue.
Right.
Then you feel guilty when we have our own issue. We feel guilty when we want to take time out and do a mental health day. And sometimes we don't even have mental health days, because what the hell is a mental health?
Not enough.
Right, what is it?
Do we have time for that? Do we have time to go to the doctor? Do we have time, because you got your children, you got your spouse or boyfriend or whoever it is, if you're in a relationship. And once again, we put our needs last. So I do believe that our baggage, and everybody's baggage, even when I see another woman, my baggage may be placed on them too, because I'm immediately assessing her to determine like what's her story. If she's going through something, and if she is, do I care enough to intervene? Do I care? But matter of fact, do I even know her to even get started on this conversation? So I do believe that yes, the Black woman struggle is real, and part of it is because the narrative that has been forced on us since we've been in this land for those who aren't considered indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what she was saying about the independent thing, I think that was taken out of context.
Yes.
What was meant was, if we don't have no help, we're going to make it happen. That don't mean we don't want the help or deserve it or need it. We're just going to have to make it happen until we get it.
Say that. Let me say something real quick, because I can't believe it, but my dad's watching. So, hey, Dad, thanks for watching.
Oh, hey, Dad.
I am going to let you answer, Sugar Mama. I just want to say hey to my dad real quick. So, go ahead, Sugar Mama. How do you feel about it passing down?
I believe, yes, it has been passed down, but this is what we have to remember, is that some of those things that was passed down was good things. You have to remember which ones to keep and which ones not to keep. So whenever I was growing up, I got my behind whooped. I'm not keeping that. But I learned something else to do. Now today,
Right.
I'm going to tell you something too. Whenever I had my girls, right, they had to wear a uniform, couldn't find them when I didn't look right. So that's I'm going to do this. I'm trying to do something different. Now I taught her that. Today, she did what I did.
Yes, it did.
They got her uniform, so she gonna look nice and neat. She gonna look nice and neat just like everybody else. They got a uniform late, but she gonna look right because she remembers something that I did. So I'm saying you gotta remember what to keep and what not to keep. But the other thing was, my mother like she didn't like to go anywhere by herself. But that's the part she gave me. But the only thing is, she did that. She taught me that, but she didn't tell me why. So I got older, and I was like, that's why. That makes sense. Okay, but why didn't you tell me both parts? And I would have took it better. But then I just said, don't go by nowhere by yourself. And that's all I said. That's all I said because that's all I knew. So I tried to don't go nowhere by yourself. And that wasn't enough. You got to tell the other part too. Why? Why not?
That's good, Sugar Mama. And thanks for all of our viewers for watching. We thank you for your support. And we even have somebody watching on YouTube. So thank you for watching. We thank you for your support. But I absolutely agree with all of you. I feel like Sister Goose really ain't got nothing else to say because y'all said it all. I mean, what else is there really to say?
Yes.
But I definitely do agree that it get put on us. But I also think that they don't know that they're putting baggage on us. They're trying to protect us from their mistakes.
Right.
Yes.
But at the same time, because of that, we don't really get to learn our own mistakes.
Right.
And then we feel some type of way when we do it because you taught us not to do it.
Right.
Now we feel too ashamed to tell you, man, I messed up. I did that.
Exactly.
But because you told us not to do it. So
now I'm scared to tell you I did it.
Yeah, she told us to don't in the baggage, but sometimes I feel like when you do that, you should explain. But if you do this, if this does happen, then you should definitely feel open to come talk to me about it.
Yeah.
So that's the only difference I wish that we could put on it. Some, and those do put some on it now, but that's what I wish that we would have had a little different.
But to me,
Hey.
you know what the biggest one is?
What's the biggest one?
Is that think about it. Most of y'all right here, growing up, who did you hug?
Who did I hug?
Say that.
I hugged you,
right?
And Daddy.
What males did you hug?
I hugged church members. Members who was males.
So
yeah.
Okay. So that's how we was brought up. Most girls are. Most of us are.
Yeah.
Don't sit on nobody's lap. Don't hug
That's
nobody.
right. You don't sit on nobody's lap.
Definitely not the lap.
At church.
Yeah. Don't let me spend a night at a friend's house and daddy home.
Right.
I didn't listen to any of that as a child. My mother can testify to getting multiple butt whippings because I sat on somebody's lap because I was young and didn't know better. I don't follow the stranger because he offered to give me some candy. But I was four.
Oh, baby.
That's true.
Yeah. And so I will admit, and to this day, I almost still hug everybody I run into just because I like hugging people.
Yeah, but that's the point of though too. Did your mother tell you why? Because a lot of them give us the rules, but do they tell us why not to?
Right.
Yeah, I tell my daughter why not.
I know you do. But I'm talking about the ones before us.
Yeah. Well, see, my mom told me
not much.
Well, my mom told me why after she whooped the hell out of me.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be an incident.
Okay. See my butt on the porch and don't go nowhere. Because she told me why after the
Right. That's right.
Right.
I have to this day, I was 4. I still remember that butt whooping.
You sure do.
You know it's a good butt whooping if you still remember it.
As an adult.
Yeah. Right now, I have a flashback. I think I was traumatized. Hold on a second.
That was a bad one.
For some, I think for a lot of families, they don't know that it's baggage though. Like nobody told them why not or why. So it's a generational thing, and so you just it's like learned behavior. You just learn it, you saw it, and you keep it going until you run into somebody else that can kind of correct it or tell you why this is not how it should be done or it's not a normal thing to do. It's just part of the lineage coming down your family of things that you are supposed to do or not do. And, sometimes they'll stop and just break the cycle.
Yeah,
Yes,
like with your generation.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the audience is snapping.
I see
I
that.
love it.
Right.
Thank y'all. Please feel free as we're doing this questions and you're in the audience and you're watching, even if it's on a replay. Feel free
Yes,
to
it's
comment on these questions. We want to know how you feel about these topics as well. And if we have time, we're going to read a few of them as we go along. So feel free to jump into the conversation. You never know. We might talk about your statement.
we
So,
might.
next question, and I'm gonna start with Tana. You gonna start?
Okay.
Do you feel that maybe a lot of Black women struggle start from their family?
Yeah.
So do
It
you,
definitely starts from their family, but you got to watch the friends too. Because
Mm.
some people have a pretty good family, but they just had that best friend since elementary school who brings them down too. But it does. Because I've seen people who, like, for instance, okay, say they mama lived a certain type of way, like their mama never paid her bills, lights was always getting cut off. They got a good job, but still living like that. Like, don't really have to, but just don't know no better. Just rather go to the mall and pay the bill late. Rather do that, even though your mama probably did it because she had to do it. But when you're so used to seeing something, you like, oh, I ain't gonna pay till the disconnect notice come, or I ain't gonna pay. Like, it's bad habits, but like your mama say, it's good habits you can pick up too.
I agree. That was a really good one. So Tana,
Yeah.
like, give her some snaps for that. Like, for
Yeah, I
real.
remember my grandma telling me about friends. That's why I say you have to watch the friend. I have a best friend since I was 12. We don't talk anymore, but I still love her. But my grandma never really wanted me around her because she felt like she was fast. And I admit, probably by the time we were 20, she had 3 kids. So as I get older and see who my kids are around, I was like, okay, I thought my grandma was being mean, but I don't want my daughter hanging with somebody who's screwing and she not. And it's not nothing against the child, but when you see your friend doing it, after a while, you're not gonna think something wrong unless you strong minded. But see, my family kind of kept me on lock. I didn't even have the freedom that she had.
Right? I know what
Yeah.
you mean, girl. I know what you mean.
Yeah. That can be
Sheena,
good or bad though.
how do you feel about the question, Sheena?
Yes, I think like how she said, it depends on your friends, and it also depends on some things that you pick up different traits from different places. Like my family, like see, my mother was pretty strict. I was like you, I couldn't go nowhere. Your mom, nope. Where you going? Where you think you going? Listen, it was so bad because my dress had to be long. It had to be to my ankles.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, when I say I was raised like real old school, listen. But some of those traits I've changed because of certain things that I don't put on my kids as well. Like, it's some things I took from my mom and some things I kept to myself. And some of it didn't even come from my mother. It's just me. I guess say, you have one of those curious minds and you just do what you want to do sometimes. And
Yeah.
that was kind of me. I won't say, I guess I live on the dangerous side of life every now and then. But I've learned better. So,
Okay.
Lessons.
lessons learned.
Wow. So first, I understand. I feel you. After that 4-year-old incident, my mother had me on a super tight leash. I couldn't without 1 or 3 of my brothers with me at any given time because
That's right, mama.
that's me. And so I was like, but I've learned my lesson. That still didn't happen. Even at 16, she still didn't trust me. But the good news is I do agree that family do shape who you are and help bring the type of baggage and so forth to the forefront. So, and when I say family, I don't just mean your mom, your dad. I also mean that extended family as well.
Yes.
A lot of times when we talk about family, we forget that extended family. There's a lot of families today where the grandparents may have raised them, and because of that grandparent ideology as far as where they grew up, their traditions and so forth, that helped shape that person. And then you also have families where there's that dirty secret, we'll put it that way. But I really want to say what the dirty secret is, but but so with that being said, we have that family where there's some type of molestation going on, and that also helps shapes other family members, because I may know about SNX being molested, but I can't say anything because I feel powerless, or that person may feel powerless because they can't say anything, because are they going to be believed because there's a child? So I think there's a bunch of external factors that influence the family as well, from alcoholism, drug dependency, even the concept of welfare, as far as if somebody is on welfare, how they use it, or the stigmatization that comes with being on welfare. All that affects who you are and contributes to who you are as you move forward in life. And that's regardless if it's Black man or Black woman, it's the person who's moving forward. So definitely, and I do agree with the friends thing. So fortunately for me, I had friends who were like, yeah, we know your mama's strict, so we ain't gonna try and sneak you out the house.
Right. Good friends. That's good friends that don't want to see you get in trouble.
And we're still friends to this day, as a matter of fact, because I was living vicariously through them, but I won't tell a lie. There was times where I did get to do some things like sneak out of school, but that was short-lived because then my mama found out. But
Mama don't play.
I do agree that friends have a big influence as well, but the biggest influence is the family, the life, and as far as the extended life around that family and those factors that contribute to who you are as a person.
Okay. And this comment's for you, S&M. She said, LOL, that was me too. Whenever you said Mama was strict.
This is my thug life partner. Yeah. He's one of them. He's killing me on the game.
All right, Carla, it's on you, sis.
The struggle from the family. You know, I think for us, because Black women, it comes from expectations or the lack of expectations that create the struggle within ourselves, because we have our family that feels this way or that way, and we're trying to find a balance on how we could, fit in. So expectations, lack of resources creates the struggle within the family. If you're in a family that has only one income, how that creates struggle. If only one paycheck is coming in, they have to take care of all the bills versus two paychecks. And guidance, when you are trying to figure out how to raise kids, or if you don't have children, how to raise yourself, right? Take care of yourself and make it for yourself. Like she said earlier, we just have these high expectations, especially for Black women, because like we said earlier, their narrative was already given to us from our ancestors about being the strong, independent woman. You can take on everything. I call the superwoman syndrome. We have all these arms going out to balance and hold everybody else up, and then we don't have an arm for ourselves, right? So then we're the ones that get lost in the sauce. Right. And so I think it's extremely important that we understand or try to get a good understanding of our family structure. But with friends, I can totally agree with that, because my parents wasn't strict. They're more like, you know better. So if you get caught, you already know what's going to happen. So I was smart on how I moved to do what I wanted to do. But surrounding yourself with people that are going to uplift you and encourage you. I always talk about the sister circle when it comes to friends. I think friendships change as we get older. Who you say your best friend is at 15 will not have the same characteristics as a best friend at 21. Won't have the same characteristics as a best friend when you're 30, 40 plus. I think friendships evolve and change.
That's the truth.
I had to snap to that. Y'all's giving some bomb answers. Like, and how we supposed to go after that?
Y'all got it.
I got it.
What I was going to say was, the family part is, it wasn't so much my mom and dad, because we had a good relationship. We had our ups and downs, but it was more like aunts and uncles putting stuff on me. Like I was the quiet one. And my sister was the energetic one, So they were trying to make me be more energetic, not me. I want to be who I want to be. So they would try to force stuff on me that I didn't want to be forced on me. So that
caused conflict.
Yeah. Sugar mama right there. So we need to hear that conflict. How did you handle it?
How did I handle it?
No, we want to hear how Sugar Mama handled that conflict between you.
Oh yeah, Sugar Mama.
Quiet, okay, but It was always my mouth, though. I would say something back, so I would get in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say it respectfully, but they like, did your mom tell you to say that? Well, my mom didn't tell me to say that.
You just spoke your mind and how you felt.
Yeah, so I got in trouble a lot from my mouth.
I was gonna say it is gonna be your turn. You have to me, Mom. So, okay, for me, I was going to say I feel like the family, they try to make you feel like who you should be mad at and who you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, try to train like, why am I mad at such and such? I don't even know about this story, but I know I'm not supposed to like you because my mama said I'm not supposed to like you. Now,
that's true.
This is an example, but I'm just saying that the family, as soon as you're born, you're already decided on what team you're on, and you have no choice. And then not only that, but I feel like the manipulation. There's so many times that people in my family have tried to put me and my sister against each other. Times, I can't even count. And thank God we have a strong bond where it never works. Never works. But they would always say stuff, and I don't know, some of them intentionally, some of them didn't really know the damage it could do. Because when you compare siblings, that's not a good feeling.
That's not good. Every siblings are different.
Because then you get the people will say, well, she's too quiet, but you're too loud. You need to be more like your sister and be outgoing. You need to be more like your sister and be a little quieter.
Right.
You
are doing
a lot, Melissa. You're not doing so much. Why is that? And it would always be a thing, and they'll be like, "Well, let Barbie take the spotlight." People would always try to push me in the spotlight, make me leave my sister behind, and I'd be like, "No,
she's coming with me."
No, exactly. But that's what they would try to do, and make me feel it was okay. Thank God my parents didn't.
But were these other family? Was the other family kind of jealous of y'all close relationship?
I believe so. People don't say it. That's what I love about family too. They don't say it, but I know you do.
You can feel it, yes.
You know, they be like,
I've had people try to go against me and my sisters, and me and my sisters were not speaking before, but it was between us. So we had like cousins and people try to come in, and then one cousin done came in, and you done got cussed out. Now me and my sister back close. Now if sister say she don't want you around, you can't come around to the events no more. Shit starter, you know.
And anytime somebody would say, and me and my sister, we would laugh about it because we'd be like, if they say that, we watching them. Anytime somebody say, I just love how close you and your sister are.
You really don't.
You be like, watch them. When you like, watch them. We don't try to especially if they say, I never seen that before. Because they always try to sneak up in there because they never seen it before. They try to break it. So I think that's something that's happened in the family, the manipulation and making you choose sides, the stories you don't even know about. I don't know. So now, Sugar Mama, it's your turn. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that. I think it is your family, but you know what? Your family, you're this and you're that, and after a while, you just start to believe it because they said that's what. Or then I say, well, you know what? When you get old, you ain't gonna be such as this, and that, this or that, and they don't know. They just saying that. But you know what? Somebody say that to them too, probably. So they're saying it to you. Somebody said it to them, instead of just not saying it again to nobody else, because you know how you felt. But you didn't cut it out. You could just cut it out.
Exactly.
And then this right. So if you want to know these two, this is how, because then one person say, you did her side. No, I'm not taking nobody's side. This is what I'm saying. Y'all two work that out. Now I'm gonna give y'all some time to work that out, but once I come in, it's all over.
It better be worked out.
I can work it out. I'm gonna argue whatever you gotta do. Do that over there. Once I come in, it's over. Done.
Oh, mama, yo,
she sound like me, my kid.
I wasn't too many times I had to come in there because they learn how to do it.
Yeah,
You better do
that
it.
mama right there, man.
Yes, but that's what you got to know. I have twin daughters, and I tell them they're each other best friend. And like you said, they're twins and still opposites. One quiet, one loud. People try to play them against themselves. One bigger, one smaller. And I'm like, y'all family.
I'm a twin.
You're a twin too? Okay.
Yes, she is.
Kimberly and Karen.
Yep, Kimberly and Karen.
And I'm the oldest. I'm 6 minutes older than her.
Wow.
Okay.
6 minutes.
She's the oldest.
I know. I always mess with them with that.
Oh, she's smarter than me.
Y'all both smart.
That's what I would hear all the time. But she is smart. She was smart the whole time. And I acknowledge that. And I wanted to be smart too. So you know what I did? I worked hard to be smart.
See, that's what I'm saying. Family put stuff.
Try to put stuff together. That's so true.
So we do got some comments. So I'm just gonna read a couple. Sugar Mama,
Okay.
Somebody left a comment for you.
Go ahead. I know I did. I said
No, listen. From Rude Dog, I thank God that my kids have a great mother, and she is still great to this day with my grandchildren. Thank you, Sugar Mama.
Oh.
And that's a shout out to Sugar Mama and Rude Dog. Co-parenting can work. All right, and we got another one. The worst hurt to be when the parent does not communicate at all. It's like you and your siblings have to look out for each other.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That happened a lot in at the older generation. They don't like to talk to the kids and allow them to talk. So I'm trying to change the narrative, and it is hurtful. Like she said, like you stay in your place. You always wrong. Don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Or the family,
That's
the parents totally abandoned. Or it also could be when the parents totally abandon the children and then the children end up fending for themselves. Where the brothers and sisters or the sisters and sisters have to look out for each other because they don't trust their parent to be there for them.
So they build that sister bond.
I totally agree.
But then let me say this too. Whenever I was growing up, it was me, my twin sister, and a sister who's a year older than us. All three of us had to go everywhere together. Because we leave together, we better come back together.
They're safe.
You don't come back together, what? You gonna get beat up for letting
beat down.
I was gonna stay later. Because it's like, you know what? We ain't doing this. Let's go. You gonna come. We had to figure that out though at the beginning. So we all being late because we don't want to come. But then we figured out, hold up. It really
she gonna leave too. Yes.
We gotta beat up.
Gotta coordinate.
Yeah, beat up. I have older sisters that's older. I have two older sisters. They went to high school together, but I was younger than them. And one of them used to tell me she would be walking to school with her and their friends, and she would turn her head and the other sister be gone, like skipping school. I'm like, and she was like, she used to have to wait till she find her to come back home. Crazy, right?
No, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So, Carla, I saved this question just for you. To start with first. Let's start talking about, and we're gonna be real people, so join in on this conversation. We about to get a little bit more realer. Let's talk about Black women struggle with depression and anxiety. So how do you feel about that topic when it comes to Black women, Carla?
Especially for the Black community, a lot of people don't think depression and anxiety is real. They don't think it exists in our community. They feel like that when you say that you're depressed, girl, nothing wrong with you. You need to just go get you a drink, or you need to go, do something. But you don't need to go see no doctor or talk to nobody. But it's real. It's really real. And for me, I had my midlife crisis I was around 33, 34, around that age. I've had my daughter, and I was just in like a dark place. And I just felt like I could not get out of it. I would get up every morning and I would use my makeup to cover myself, to paint this picture that I was happy and everything was going well and I was doing well for myself. And I remember when people used to ask me, "Are you happy?" I would get so defensive. I would be
Okay.
like, "What do you mean? Am I happy? Of course I'm happy." Not realizing that to me, them asking me if I was happy was like, "Do I have a crack in my mask? Can they see the real
Right.
me underneath me that, I'm not happy, that I'm struggling with things in my life?" And so I think it's so important for Black women to understand that, yes, depression is real. Yes, anxiety is real. This is not something made up. It don't just happen to white people or white women.
No.
I hear that all the time. That don't happen to Black people. It happens to white people. No, it happens to
Everyone.
everybody. It doesn't discriminate. Color doesn't matter. Race, sex, gender, none of that matters. It's real. It's important to recognize it and try to do what you can to get help for it before it turns into something, hurtful, hurt yourself or hurt someone else.
I'm giving snaps to
Yeah,
that.
that's a good one.
After that.
All right, we're going to go to S&M this time. You second this time. How you feel about it?
So I do believe that part of that independent, strong Black woman narrative is that we can't afford to be depressed, even if we are depressed. And we can't afford to have anxiety because we have 1 to 100 things on our list of things to do. So we can't afford that. But as someone who actually have suffered from depression and anxiety, and I'm sure many have as well, I would say that it took me a while to realize that I was actually suffering from depression. And for those who are military, a lot of military members, especially the females, tend to suffer from depression as well. And so with that being said, I ended up going to counseling after like a year. My husband said, "Oh my gosh, something is wrong with you," because I didn't recognize, I refused to recognize it. As a matter of fact, I hid it by being extra. Like I was over the top, getting involved in everything I can think of because I wanted to distract myself from the anxiety and depression I was feeling. While at the same time, I was feeling like I was a failure. I wasn't doing what I needed to get done. I was going to fail everybody in my family. And that I just went through this really dark moment. So I actually went to counseling, and it turned out it was one of the best decisions I actually could have made because I couldn't handle it on my own because I had internalized it, and I was so used to being independent and strong to the point where I didn't even cry in front of my husband, right? Because I didn't want him to see me ever crying, and I definitely didn't want him to see me crying on something that I should have been super excited and happy about, or not even super excited, but I should have had some relief when I transitioned from the military to civilian life. But it was like a piece of me that was missing, and I didn't even have the time to recognize and process. So I would like cry in the shower, where it turns out a lot of women actually cry in the shower because we don't want our kids to be crying.
Yeah.
We don't want our spouse to know that we're crying. And there's been times where I used to pull over to the side of the road because I'll have tears coming out my eyes. And I was like, why is it getting blurry? And I'm putting the windshield wipers on because I'm stupid apparently. And I'm thinking it must be raining or something, but not necessarily raining, but something was wrong, and I'll pull over because I was crying. So I do believe that Black women, as a matter of fact, probably suffer from more depression and anxiety than anybody else, simply because we've always been told to suck it up, simply because we've always been told that we're strong and independent. And so it's a real factor. Mental health awareness and mental health issues in our community is a big deal, even with, and as much as I talk about Black women, and I love Black women, I also have to talk about Black men as well. Black men technically suffer from the same syndrome because it's viewed as a weakness in our community to go and seek mental health, to go ahead and get that professional help. Sometimes they say, "Oh, just talk it out, go get a drink, do whatever's clever," like Carla mentioned. But sometimes talking out to somebody who can't provide you with a direction for how you can start to heal this process, or provide you with any tips, hints, and tricks basically to minimize that depression you may be feeling, or tools in your toolbox, then it doesn't matter if I'm talking to my best friend or if I'm talking to my mom, because it turns out they were just as depressed at some point in their life. They fucked it up.
Y'all just keep blowing away with your answer. Go ahead, Sheena. It's on you.
Well, of course, I agree with that, because that's why I talk about the masses and unveiling yourself and taking, the steps of being uncomfortable to get comfortable. And with me, I suffered from it. And I think a lot of times, me growing up down south, I grew up in a small town. It was always, you got to take it to the Lord. You got to take it to church. There's nothing wrong with being spiritual. There's nothing wrong taking it to the Lord. But are there still things that we need to literally go get help for, that we are truly dealing with so deep down, that the Lord can help, the therapist can help too, and it gives you, like S&M says, the tools, the toolbox, the different things that you can use, that you can, help to get yourself unstuck from being stuck in that depression. Like, I remember when I first started dealing with mine, I actually literally dealt with it by alcohol because I didn't know any other way at first. And I was at the age of 27 dealing with this because I lost the relationship I was with for 7 years. I lost the job I was in. I lost an apartment. I lost my brother. So it was like, I can't handle life right now. This is a lot. What am I supposed to do with this? So I turned to alcohol, and that wasn't a great decision either because I ended up in the hospital with acute pancreatitis. So I learned the hard way how to deal with life. And then from there, I was hit rock bottom. It was so deep. I was in a dark room. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I drank every day, and all I did was go to work and drink. And when you find yourself trying to drive yourself to the hospital and your pancreas is enlarged, it wakes you up. Like, wait a minute, you can't live without your pancreas. So what? Excuse my French, but what the hell are you doing to yourselves? So I had to stop self-medicating and learn that, all right, Sheena, you got to go see somebody and figure out things that you're dealing with. Because it was hard to deal with my brother's loss because it was almost like I lost my father. So it was hard. Then on top of that, after you deal with life, it's like, all right, you seem stuck. So yeah, I had to go to therapy. I had to get fixed. Then after going through domestic violence, I needed therapy because I had to go back to why I was getting into toxic relationships. So I had to really figure it all out. So yes, it is definitely a struggle because, going to hear nothing but take it to the Lord, after a while, it's like, all right, there's other options you have to use besides that.
Yes. So Tana.
Okay, just like you said, they gave such good answers, but I think the problem with dealing with it is, like someone said, worrying about being judged. It's like, if I'm feeling bad, is they gonna talk about me? Is they gonna say this? So we try to bottle everything in. And there's been times I've been depressed but didn't know at the time until I look back and been like, that's what I was going through. I went through anxiety. It was times when I felt like my kid's dad was working out of town because that's how he make money. So I'm in the house with the kids and my teenage son acting up. And I remember one time, like, I couldn't catch my breath and I felt anxious. And that's when I kind of realized you might do have anxiety and you might need to cut back on some things. And then I evaluated like what I was going through in life. I used to get up for work in the morning. You know how you deal with the kids. Then on the way to work, talk to one of my friends and they tell me about their problem and they man. Then as soon as I get off from work, I'm hearing their problems again. Then I got to go home to my kids. So you know what I did? I changed my ritual. When I get up in the morning, it's before all the kids. I do my prayer, my little ritual, just enjoy my peace. People be calling my phone in the morning, whether it's about business or personal, I do not answer. I get started at work. I might return your calls through text later once I'm settled or call you back later. But I had to stop letting people ruin my mornings. And it is not even on purpose, but you got everybody else's issues in your head early in the morning. You can't even really deal with your issues. So it is real. And I think the main reason people just don't deal with it is because people judgmental. So you got to evaluate in your life. If I can't talk to you about that, then I need to stop calling this person my friend, and I need to, But I do think we need to stop shying away from therapy. I would love to get me a nice, good counselor to talk to some things about. That's not a white person thing, but Black people are ashamed of everything. I have 5 siblings. One of my siblings has like mental issues. When we were younger, she used to always like just act up, cuss our parents out. We used to be like, she bold. She cuss mama out. Like, she used to do so much stuff. And see, back then, I'm looking at we found out later on what it was. So when I talk to my dad now, I say, we saw the signs. As a child, I see that she was acting out. I even told him, I said, y'all was dealing with y'all issues and not paying her no attention. So we need to pay attention. Acting out, cussing people out, all that can be mental issues, depression, all that. just trying to, just like they say, get the focus off of me and let's focus on something else.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. It is a huge stigma in the Black community about mental health, period.
Yes.
It goes back to what we said on the other night about house business. When people are having mental breakdowns, or we have people in our family that, have mental issues. We don't want to talk about it. So
They ignore it.
we ignore them, or we hide them in back rooms, and a whole lot of family members come over so nobody can see them and interact with them. But there's huge stigma about it. Or like she said, religion comes in play. You're not crazy. Just pray about it. Go to the Lord, go to church. And it's more to that.
Yes. What about you, Lisa?
Well, what I was going to say too, like Carla said, like I saw how my family members was dealing with people that had the depression. Like they would lash out or cry or do whatever they were doing through their depression. And I was seeing how they were treating them, how they were talking about them.
Right.
So yeah, they even shunned some of them. So I was going through it, and I was young. I wasn't an adult when I first had depression. So I was like, I see how y'all dealing with it with them. So how would y'all dealing with me? And I'm young.
Same way.
So it was hard for me to say anything, but I had to say something because I was really, really in depression. And if I didn't say anything, I probably wouldn't even be here right now.
But thank God you did.
Thank God you did.
Talk about this.
Yes. You have very supportive parents.
Yeah, and my parents were very supportive. As soon as I said something, they said, let's go get some help. They helped me. But other parents, they might not do that. They be like, oh no, we're not doing that. I don't want nobody knowing my business.
And say my child is doing this. And
yeah, I don't want nobody knowing this. I don't want nobody knowing that.
right.
You know what I mean? But it's not about that. It's about the child at the time. You could have saved that child's life.
Right. Because there's so many suicidal kids. That's true.
Ooh,
Question. So I know that this is the Black Women's Struggle panel, right? But since we are talking about mental health, I would like to know what each one of you have used in your own toolkit to assist with addressing any depression or anxiety. Because I'm sure some people in our audience have also suffered from depression and anxiety. And if anybody in the audience want to say what they do to handle anxiety, depression, will be beneficial as well.
Yeah. For me, and it might sound funny to some people, but it ain't for me. For me, y'all know I like to sing. So when I go through a very hard time, I sing to myself in the bathroom by myself, wherever, and it's me letting my feelings out. I'm singing it out loud. I let my feelings out. Some of them may turn to the song, some of them may not. And there are some times where I have to go and talk to my mom when I get anxiety very bad. And I had to go talk to my mom, and I had to sometimes have somebody squeeze my hand, because I be like, squeeze my hand to let me know I'm still here. My mind messed with me. So I'd be like, squeeze my hand, let me know I'm still here, or let cold water run on my hand to make my nerves get a shock.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that anxiety hit me really strong. And for me, I didn't deal with it when I was younger. It came to me after I got cancer. And I didn't even know that was a side effect with depression. And my first real moment, because I didn't really have a depression moment where you just break down. But there was this one time where I was supposed to go to chemo. This is I want to say this was my second round. No, it was probably still my first round. I don't remember particularly what, but I already didn't want to go. I was tired. I lost all my hair. I lost my eyebrows. I was losing weight. I couldn't hold my baby. And so I was going to chemo, and my husband and my mom was talking about something. It was just about who's going to do the baby while I leave. Something like that. But it made me so mad that I just lashed out. I slammed the door. I was saying stuff, and I said, I did all this. I'm not going to chemo. And I slammed the door. And I didn't let And I told them, and don't come talk to me because none of you are going to make me go to chemo. There's nothing you can say. And they
You
couldn't.
didn't go that day?
I didn't go. I went the next day.
Okay.
But I remember it took my sister to come talk to me. And she told me that it was me having a depressing moment, that I had a breakdown. And she said, you don't have to go today.
Right.
To let yourself sit today because obviously this is really getting to you that you have to go to chemo and it's a lot and you need a day.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, but tomorrow you won't have to go. But she said, for today, we're going to leave you alone. And that is the beauty in a family member knowing how to talk to somebody that's going through depression. Because they all could have been like, you tripping, you going to chemo, we don't care.
Yeah.
But that's not how they treated me.
Right.
It was very understanding. They talked very calm. My mom cried with me, and they just let me because it was one of the hardest days I ever had. And I'm not a person, if you know me personally, I'm not a person who really has a breakdown. I push my way through everything. But that day, I could not push it. And there was nothing
Understood.
to make me push it.
Definitely.
So, what about you, Mom? What's something about, how do you feel about depression? What's something you use for your depression or anxiety?
Well, you know, you might sound weird too, but for me, man, it's not so much talking about it. Man, I like to watch movies. So I'll get a movie that's dealing with some of what I'm dealing with. And sometimes I watch movies, I don't even know it's going to be like that. And it'll come out in the movie, and it'll make me feel what they feel. That I was going through, and they're doing the same.
Oh, yeah.
That happens a lot. And you're going to tell me, like, wait a minute. I just had a stroke, they had a stroke, and they're telling me what they're dealing with, how they doing it, and I'm doing it. I'm like, wow, they don't get to you that way. But music is another way for me.
Oh, yeah.
Music.
But I'm sorry. I was going to say, I had to learn what my triggers were, you know? A lot of times we don't even know that we're in a depressed state because we don't know what triggered it. And so for me, I had to first learn, you know, what my triggers were. One was being overwhelmed, like saying yes to everything. And so I had to learn how to say no and stand firm in my no. Like not say no today and then 2 minutes later, okay, I'll do no.
Right.
No. Journaling, I love to write. Just notes down in my journal to kind of calm myself. Quiet time, you know. I love to meditate and just affirm myself. I use my affirmations in the morning. I do it at night.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is learning what triggers you and try to have a plan in place to keep those triggers from happening and setting you off.
Yes. I love that. And I love meditation. I just tried that. I actually like it.
Well, yeah. One of my things when I went to therapy, it sounds funny, but it really works for me. To color. Okay. You color so your mind goes somewhere else while you're coloring and you're listening to music. I was like, that's not going to work. But I it did. Because I was willing to try. So I went home and tried it. That was the best thing I ever did.
We done brought a whole bunch of coloring.
Let me share one moment with y'all, if I could, just something small.
Okay. What's something small?
You're hearing this conversation, you're probably thinking, well, do we really want to talk about this? Yes. Because you know why? Because one day, I was in the room with Melissa. Okay? And she was in one of those moods that she was in, now trying to talk to her. And she looked at me and said, Melissa is not here. And I said, oh, you don't want to talk about it? Wait till you hear that.
Yeah, but we all had that moment, you know?
You said, Melissa is not here.
Yeah, we all had that moment because I
out of character.
I said, I'm not here either. No. I checked out. So yeah.
This conversation, what you gonna do when you hear that?
That's a good point, Mom. What they gonna do? That's why we got to talk about it.
Yes.
Did anybody else want to?
Yes, don't put it aside and say yes, she is. No, wait a minute. What she just said.
Respect it, yeah.
Did anybody else want to give a tip they use to help them with depression or anxiety?
I take a bath. Like I go rub me a bath.
Soothing.
Yep, I get me some candles. and I play some mellow music, and I would go take a bath. Or I like to cook, so I go do something that makes me happy. I cook, put on some good music that would, make me upbeat, get me out of the mood I was in. Or I use breathing exercise, take my mind from where I've been. Or like I did with your mom with the pain, I put my mind somewhere else. I think about the happy place, what makes me happy. And like she said as well, you figure out the triggers. And when you have those moments, like I remember having a breakdown when I kept getting the phone calls of all the different conditions I was dealing with. Every time you go to the doctor and you always come back with a different condition, can be frustrating. And it feels like the world is crashing down. And then you're like, my biggest thing is I was so concerned. I'm like, okay, I have all these conditions. What's going to happen to my kids? They were young then. And it's like, all right, when you read these conditions, like, okay, how am I going to live with all this? So like your mind is running crazy. So I have to learn to slow my mind down and not think about what the condition is going to do with me and not let it control my life. I have to control the condition. The condition is not me. I'm control of them. So I had to learn that, and I learned, like taking your mind somewhere else. And then I also like taking walks. Go for a nice nature walk. Go to the water. Watch the water.
That's what I was going to say. Now that the weather's feeling good, walking.
Yes.
I think walking and
even exercising.
Yes. I was going to say my number one is exercising, followed by recognizing my triggers. But one of the things that I had to do, because I'm a slight nut, when I started experiencing anxiety, I had to go to, and this was one of the tips I got from counseling, was to visualize the worst case scenario, right?
Oh.
Like, what's the worst that could absolutely happen? Now walk back from that, right?
Yep.
And so for me, because I literally had to go on all the different worst case scenarios of whatever anxious moment that I was having. This is just for anxiety, right? And then walk it back to where it was, okay, now what are the reality? What's that worst case scenario actually happening to you at this point in time? And helping to reshape my thought process was a major part of controlling or assisting with controlling the anxiety. So exercising, controlling the anxiety through visualization, as well as meditation, was huge help. And I will say something that's interesting. So when it came to the visualization, I didn't believe in it at first. But it turns out, because I had anxiety, I was already imagining the worst case scenario.
Right.
It was just a matter of figuring out how to walk that scenario back and ask myself questions. And I do agree with Carla. Positive affirmations, I say them every night. And on days where I wake up where I may feel a little anxious or recognize that I have some type of depression, I'll say it in the morning as well. But every night I go to bed, positive affirmations. That's something else I didn't believe in at first. I'm like, whatever, this don't even matter. This ain't real. But it turns out it does. The positive affirmation shifts your mind frame. Exactly. It shifts your mind frame and shifts your thought process. And now you're like, well, okay, not exactly like that. But you tend to look at things a little bit more positive throughout the day if you use positive affirmations.
Okay. All right, I'm going to read this comment. We had a few, but I'm just going to read one because we're about to move to the next one.
Okay.
I'm so glad more people are talking about mental health, making it less taboo and more okay. So more yes. So give us some snaps for that. Everybody gets snaps. Everybody gets snaps.
Somebody about it tomorrow.
And also, I want to say congratulations to all the ones who are on the panel. We just made it to an hour, and we got one more hour to get.
Wow!
Yay!
Hey,
It's Friday.
Yes. So, since we talk about depression, I thought it would be great to move into the next section, and I'm going to ask Sparkling Eyes first. How do you feel about Black women with motherhood?
I have two girls, okay? I was so happy. Like, I wanted to be a mother so bad, you know. Then I became a mother. I was so happy, but nobody told me. Well, they told me some things, but not everything. Okay, that postpartum is real. I struggled with that a lot, and people tried to tell me we don't talk about that in the Black community. Pressing on, like we gotta keep doing what we gotta do for our kids. And I'm with my kids a lot. Their dad's in their life too, but I do a lot for them. They're always with me, and it's like sometimes I need a break. You know what I mean? And I lost myself for some time, and I'm like, okay, because I was so happy to have my kids because I wanted it so bad, and I got sick having my kids also. So I was even more grateful to have them and be here. So I'm like, okay, how do I what am I trying to say? How do I become myself again? Because I'm putting everything into them, but not into myself. And people judge me how I'm raising my kids. They be like, why you have your kids with you all the time? Because I want to have my kids with me all the time.
Right.
Because y'all want them to go somewhere else. I don't want my kids to be everywhere. I don't let them spend a night nowhere. And I made sure they had everything, and I forgot about myself. And that's part of the reason why I got sick recently, because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was doing so much for them, I forgot about myself. So that was the biggest part of me being a mother. I had to learn to do myself too, and do my kids. Because if I'm not well, how am I going to be able to take care of them?
Exactly.
Right.
What about you, Sugar Mama?
Well, I'll tell you this. The mother who told me the best advice. Okay. She told me, if you don't want to take your medicine, go in there and tell your kids you don't want to go take it. Tell them.
That's the motherhood advice you got?
Yeah.
That's what you got.
Because you want to explain to your kids that you're trying to kill yourself.
Yeah, that's explain to you about your struggle. Well, everybody got their own input on
Well,
it.
I mean, you got people around you that you want to keep on going for.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You still need it. Because I think that's what mine was. I needed to find out that I was still needed.
Okay.
So, because I'm not I am in addition to, not instead of.
Not for that. So, What about you, Carla? How do you feel about the motherhood for Black women?
Well, I had my kids late. My son at 27, my daughter at 33. I learned a long time ago to be careful about asking women about motherhood. Because when you ask them, women who are having children,
Yes.
you're putting a responsibility on them that they may not want. And some women may want to be mothers, but they can't naturally be mothers.
Yes.
So you're opening up or you're triggering something within them. So I learned first, be careful about asking women about motherhood, or if they want to be mothers. For me, it was about this life manual. I was 27. I felt like life was passing me by. I was like, I want to be a mother. It's time for me to be a mother before I won't be able to be a mother. I'll be too old. So I had my son. Life was good. I loved him. And then I had to figure out that it wasn't easy. Like, it wasn't like on the movies. It wasn't like the parody magazines laid out for me, Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, this baby's gonna be awesome and great.
Let me drink to that.
And also, like your sister said, postpartum was real. Like, trying to figure out being a mother, but also still be yourself. Because society thinks that once you become a mother, you can't be yourself. Like, everything and everything you do, say, must be poured into your kids. And I learned after I had my second child the importance of the balance of motherhood and being who you are. Right. Like, you can still put on your cute dress and go out. You can still hang out with your friends. You can still vacation and travel. You can make time for yourself and also be a bomb mother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my advice for women who are mothers or think about becoming mothers is don't lose yourself in motherhood. You know, find a
The
balance.
baby smacking.
You know, set time for yourself. You can be, listen, just because you didn't go and take little Johnny to Chuck E. Cheese Saturday because you wanted to go to Walmart and
Treat
Target
yourself.
does not make you a bad mother, honey. Okay.
Right. Ain't
But
never-
like you said, if I'm not well, I'm not a well mother. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself so you can be the best mother to your children.
Yes.
Agreed.
All right.
I think motherhood is different depending on the person. It can be good for some people and bad for some people. With me, I had my first child when I was 20. I'm 39 now. And I really didn't know much about motherhood, but he was my first child. He was my son. So my family took him on. So I was still, like she say, able to party and still go to college too, because I was always about my responsibilities. But then when he was 1.5, I got pregnant again with twins.
Mm-hmm.
I was crying this time because it's not like I got this one little cute baby. I'm about to go from 1 to 3 kids, and I'm 22 years old, and all the family babysitting. I don't think they're gonna do it with 3 kids. And for me too, with my son, I had the regular morning sickness, and then after 4 months, I felt better, went back to work. With my twins, I was sick from day one until I had them early at 29 weeks. I spit every day. It was like a horrible experience for me. I went to the hospital one day at 29 weeks, was too sick to eat. I passed out and woke up. They were premature. So I was a young mother with 2 premature kids and a little one. So it was harder for me, but that's when I had to stop the clubbing and all that and with that. So I was with their dad for a while, but then when the twins was 5 and my son was 7, we split up. I got with another guy a year later, was with him for 7 to 8 years. He didn't have any kids. We didn't have no kids. So we went through a breakup in 2016 while I was staying in Charlotte. In 2017, I went through a breakup, lost my grandma. I moved back home. My kid's daddy was happy. I mean, he was getting them on the summers and stuff, but he was happy to be back in the same town with his kids. So we got back close. It's 2 years ago. Here she go. So I have a 19-year-old son and 2 17-year-old daughters. So I was just used to kids who was big and doing what they want. So now I'm old mother, and like as far as financial, I'm way better than I was when the other kids was little. But I'm tired. I'm more tired now. Like I'm an older mother too, so it's just not the same energy thing. So it can be a struggle. Thankfully, we still got him, but we also they're working now. But I got my other kids. Like the other night when we did this, I'm like, keep her in the room and out my way. But now she's popping up every once in a while because they're not here. So it's not an easy thing. But if you love your kids and you're determined, you can make it happen. But on the bad side, I know people who had kids and kind of break down, and then the mama got one child, cousin got one child. And I know you need help, but I guess I never understand, not judge them, but just to never understand if you got your other kids all over the place, why are you having more? You know, like it's a struggle being old having more, but I can take care of mine. I just be wishing the women who already kind of struggling a little bit a slow down just to make sure the other kids be straight too.
I agree. Sheena?
Well, I would say I didn't have mine till I was 30. I actually didn't even think I
Now
could have.
that's perfect. I want my kids to do that.
I didn't have my first daughter till I was 30, and she was a surprise. I was about 5 months when I actually figured out that I had her.
Wow.
Like I was on that show, I didn't know that I was pregnant. No throw up, no signs, no symptoms.
The lucky ones.
I was just thinking that.
I don't know how she did that.
So I had that whole, synopsis going on, but at the same time, when it was time to actually have her, it was like a struggle because literally I ended up in the hospital at like 36 weeks because I started bleeding and nobody had a rhyme or reason or why.
Oh
Then
wow.
after I had her, I ended up, well, when it was time to have her, I went there on the 7th, didn't have her till the 8th. And then I was in labor for like maybe just say 2 days because they ended up having to give me a C-section because she turned. And then after that, I had a spinal headache, so I had to go back to the hospital after having her. So it was a whole process after having her.
It's hard. Yes.
It was hard, but I didn't mind it, and I say to a lot of mothers, I can say I lived my life, so I wasn't like I missed out on anything because
Yes.
I already had my son, I already did all these things, and I watch a lot of my friends have their kids, so I used to babysit their kids. But I would definitely say now having both of my daughters, because my other daughter, they almost like having twins, because I had my other daughter like a year and 2 months apart. They're only 14 months
Yeah.
apart.
So
I had
twins.
twins when my oldest was 6 months, I was pregnant with my next kid. And I'm like, all right, before I get out of this hospital, this depot is about to be on because I ain't about to be walking around here with
Yes.
kids. I'm
Right.
already trying to figure it out with you. But
Yeah.
I would just say that, there's no handbook to it. And
No.
it's not like it has to be this way. You have a choice on how you structure and raise your own kids by your own
Right.
track. And I would also say a lot of us don't have to be so hard on ourselves when things do go wrong. You're
Yeah.
human.
No one
You're not
perfect.
gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I've had that moment like, something happened and I'm like, am I doing something wrong? What happened? Why did that happen? And I had to realize to myself, like, you ain't, you're not a robot and you're not going to be perfect and it's not going to be this way. Give yourself a pat on the back for doing the great things that you are doing. There's no handbook to it. It's going to be okay. Take your time, walk through it, talk about it, figure it out. But don't beat yourself up thinking that,
Right.
it's supposed to be a certain particular way that you
Right.
have to raise your kids. Like, I remember when I first found out with my daughter, she deals with ADHD, but she also has a learning disability. And at one point, I blamed myself because that was my first kid and I didn't know I was pregnant. I still was working. I was doing all the other things that I was doing. But I had to
That
realize
has
I
nothing
blame
to
myself.
do with it.
But I had to
Yeah,
take that
go through that. You had to go through it.
emotions. And it's okay to go through emotions and talk about it. Don't feel embarrassed. I ended up talking to one of my friends about it. She's like, it's not your fault and you can't blame yourself for that. But at one point I did because I carried her. So I thought it was all me. I
Yeah.
just realized that's my daughter. That's how she was made. I'm going to love her how she is. And that's just what it is. And that's my baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yep.
after that.
After that.
All right, S&M.
So I was team one and done, first of all. My pregnancy was horrible throughout. As a matter of fact, I didn't think I was going to make it. I almost died a couple times. Everyone's surprised I had the baby. And my mother was so shocked. She actually came to see that I was actually pregnant. So I would say this for motherhood. I think that motherhood for each person is different. And for me, it meant adjusting and adapting. I actually wanted the kid. I didn't realize he didn't live right next to me, too, by the way. I didn't realize that wanting a kid was going to be such a painful experience for me. So, Sheena, you was lucky because I experienced every single moment of my pregnancy. They said morning sickness only lasts in the first 3 weeks or 3 months.
No.
I had it throughout. As a matter of fact, I even threw up after I gave birth. There was
I spit every day, like how we're talking, and I spit every day from 3 months till birth.
Yes.
It was hard.
I did. I got
cavities. Because it turns out the baby was, so they thought it was gonna be a girl because he was taking all my nutrients out my body. I couldn't eat. I looked like one of those Save the Children commercials, unfortunately. And so it was just amazingly horrible experience. I actually wrote a diary about it. My son, he laughs at this. I couldn't eat anything but stale banana cookies and some peanut butter. And so I was getting my nutrients. I had to go on some Pediasure. But anyways, with that being said, I think motherhood represents different things for different people. And so for me, I was so excited that I actually had my child though. And for me, it meant looking at another life that I brought into this world and
Yes.
making sure that I raise them to the point where they can be successful on their own without me having to be there holding their hand. And then it
Yes.
also felt like it was an extension of who I was as a woman, as well as a unit, a family unit that my child represent and will. And to be honest, he'll tell you, I'm only me. I don't represent anybody. I'm like, okay, I respect that.
But in a certain way, he represents you.
Right, exactly. And so I'm like, I respect that. I'm gonna go ahead and let you keep thinking that. But so I think that the one thing I didn't like as a mother was being judged for the fact that I was team one and done. Right. I felt that
Oh, wow.
so much stigmatism attached to the fact that I just wanted one child. I was told I was selfish. I was told, but I'm like, you don't know my story.
You're the one who has to take care of the child.
Right. And I was told, like, you don't know my experience. You didn't know what it took to get him into this world. And which also included my life almost. And so I was high risk from the beginning to the end. And so it was just one of those things where I think that as mothers, and for those who are entering motherhood, that I think that we should be more supportive of each other and each other's struggle. So, like, for example, there are some women who I can say that I don't necessarily believe they should procreate, to put it nicely. However, when they chose to procreate, instead of me judging them, it was, okay, how can
we help?
Right. What can I do to get you what you need? Do you need clothes? Can I send you something?
Village.
Exactly. Yep. Because I'm a firm believer in it takes a village. And so, as a matter of fact, the organization I work with, TC Youth, that I volunteer with, motto is "It takes a village." And so I'm a big proponent of that. So I think as mothers, we should uplift other women who may be struggling or who may not be struggling, you know. And so I'm a big fan of embracing mothers regardless of the form. Now, I will say this. Remember how they have that when they talk about the crackhead mother or the mother who's on drugs and so forth, and how you can't help those situations? Well, I think in those cases is more or less doing that village mentality and taking care of that child and ensuring that the children have that, the aunties and the uncles
until they get it together.
Exactly. And so that's how I view motherhood. And so I'm always excited when I run into other women, especially those who are team one and done, because it's like, yes, girl.
I was trying to be.
You were trying to be.
But at the same time, I love the women who were able to have multiple children and was able to, because to be honest, I believe that we should have more. I just wasn't able to have more because it's life and death for me. And I, in the old days, it was life and death regardless because of healthcare and so forth. But it just wasn't something for me to keep risking. So I admire women who have more than one children, but mostly because I'm like, yes, keep populating the black population.
And can I speak one on the, oh no, you wasn't done? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was done. That was the
I was going to talk about the health risk thing. Like, you're so right. Like, people die on the labor table having kids. Like, people don't realize how hard it is to bring a child into this world. They really don't. And okay, so with my twins, my kids are 15 years apart. My twins are 17 and she's 2. Like, they're working and gone. With them, I had a C-section because it was emergency. And he took the staples out early and busted my stitches. So my mama had to stay with me and dress me up every day. So when I had a C-section with her, I told him, it's a different doctor 15 years later. I say, this happened before. I don't want to take them out. They might not be ready. He fussing me down. They ready. I'm fussing him down. No, they're not. Like, I even made him wait another day, and then he convinced me. I'll be damned if them staples did not bust again. Wow. My stomach hanging open. We have to make these people listen to us because they don't. They don't listen to us. And I feel like my twins wouldn't have been premature. I kept coming to the doctor. He thinking I'm just complaining. Dude, I'm spitting. I'm throwing up. At that time, they didn't have, like with her, I had like a apnea monitor thing that helped me get stuff in. They didn't have it. So like someone just said, I'm losing weight with twins looking like a crackhead. Yeah. He was ignoring me. Basically what the doctors at the other hospital told me at the emergency room is he could have did stuff to kind of help me out, them not have them early. So we have a big problem with doctors listening to Black
Yeah.
women.
Yeah, we do.
I agree.
Yeah.
Before I take my turn, I got a fun fact to tell y'all.
Okay.
So raise your hand if you was asked a question when you was in the doctor's room, do you have Indian in your family? Did they ask you that when you was pregnant? They never asked you that? Okay, because they asked me and my sister that. They asked all the ones I know that because I asked the doctor because they asked me both pregnancies. I said, why does it matter if I have Indian in my bloodline? And the doctor said they asked you that because the Native Americans they be in labor longer.
Oh wow.
So they can be in labor for 3 weeks.
What? 3 weeks.
And so they ask you that so they can determine if you might have a long labor.
Wow.
Or not.
Oh wow.
So that's why they ask you that, and then they might say, well, do you know where in your bloodline they are? Because when I said, well, my great granddad is, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna write that down. I was like, why does it matter?
Wow.
So he told me, and don't you know I was in labor for a week before I could go.
Wow.
For a whole week.
So you have Indian in your family.
In their home.
I was in labor for a whole week. I was up all night, and then
Oh wow.
for me, motherhood with the pregnancy, okay, terrible. Both of them terrible. And I wanted to be team one and done, just like S&M, because first of all, with my daughter, I had to get an emergency C-section. And then after I had her, I left, and I believe when I left, I was already infected, and they did not know.
Oh wow.
When I left, I came home, and two days after I had my baby, I had to go back to the hospital because my stomach was leaking.
Oh wow.
With discharge, and I was infected. And I never knew that a Black person's belly can turn red, and I'm not exaggerating. My belly was red.
Wow.
And it was like a sponge. You touched it, it went like a sponge. And they never, ever, ever dealt with an infection like mine.
Wow.
So the doctor tells you when you ask them, so what are we going to do from here? And they say, well,
we don't
I
know.
don't know. That's the time you need to worry.
That's scary.
Like, you supposed to know, okay?
They ain't not like them doctors on Grey's Anatomy that find everything.
Yeah, they had to fly
Real life.
A woman had to be flew from Germany
Oh, wow.
on my case to help. I had to do 3 surgeries a week for them to change my dressing because they took a very big chunk. So when I lifted my stomach, you was able to put your hormone.
Wow.
It was that bad. So I was like, I had a nurse that came twice a day. I had a wound vac, all that.
So you knew what I was talking about when I said the Finnegan machine thing too.
Yeah, I had a wound vac for
my God.
a year.
No, wound vacs are worse.
Yes, and my husband and my sister and my mom had to take turns changing them, and my sister had to give me medicine. It was a serious infection that it even came out in my breast milk. I could not breastfeed my child.
I'm sorry. Wow.
So whenever I had that, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to have no more kids. Thank God that he had his hand on the doctor. Shout out to Dr. Krivak at West Penn Hospital. Best doctor ever.
In the world.
Best doctor ever. And he prayed over me and everything. And I was scared. And he was like, we're going to figure this out, Barbara. Like, he was so sweet to me. White male.
Yes.
He was so sweet to me. Gave me his personal number and everything.
That's great.
I was able to be closed up. But funny thing, once I closed up, okay, I was
pregnant.
Closed. Boom, my son came and I was pregnant for 3 months and didn't know it.
Wow. Because you had stomach issues, you probably thought that's what it was.
Girl, I didn't know. I knew I was off, and then my sister found out she was pregnant. And then
pregnant at the same time?
That same week, I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. So they told her, how far she was, but I found out a few weeks after her. So I was like, okay, well, she's gonna have her baby like a month or something before me. My due date was before her due date.
Oh wow!
And he was like, "Well, ma'am, you been pregnant?" And I said, "No, I wasn't." He said, "Well, we're doing the ultrasound, and your baby's this big." Yeah.
How far apart are your kids?
Our kids or mine?
No, your two, because you got pregnant again the second.
Ours is 30 days apart, around 30 days apart.
Okay.
Because my son came out early. He
okay.
He was 3 months. I had him when I was 27 weeks.
So you know about premature and NICU and all that. Okay.
And then that's why for me, when it comes to motherhood, what bothers me the most is mommy shaming.
Yeah.
I hate
y'all don't know what people go through.
Because when my son was in the NICU unit, and I would go there a lot all the time, that the nurse told me, okay, I'm going to need you to just try not to call me so much. He's fine. I got him. Like, she was trying to help me be at ease. And she said, go do something fun. The one night I went to go do something fun,
something happened.
Going to say, why is she out here partying when her son got a surgery in 2 days? And
see, that's crazy.
I'm just like, do you know that even though I look happy and I look like
I'm thinking about my boy,
that I was really depressed. Like I almost became an alcoholic depressed.
Oh
because,
wow!
Like y'all said, sometimes people take family traits. So instead of dealing with my pain, I started drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't realize I was becoming like an alcoholic until my sister and my fiance said something to me, because my sister looked at me when we did a cookout and she was like, you don't even drink. Why you buy your own bottle? Because I drank the whole bottle, mostly to myself.
Oh, wow.
And they said something to me then. They knew something was wrong. But it was because I was depressed about my son, because I was having dreams that he was crying and I woke up and I couldn't find him. So I got anxiety because he was at the NICU unit.
Yes.
So I was having a hard time, and nobody knew but my mother and my sister how hard of a time I was having, so bad that my aunt took my daughter for 30 days from me and took care of her for the summer because I couldn't be a good mom to her at that time. I couldn't.
Your family is a big, big blessing.
I'm very,
because there's so many people.
blessed.
It's so many people when you're going through stuff, they're like, call me if you need me, or I got you. But I don't think they understand what that means because they disappear.
Yes, they don't.
Got a new number all of a sudden.
And these two right here, especially this one,
be the bomb.
We've been through it together, especially with that pregnancy.
I know,
we was going through it together.
I seen it, John.
And see, I owe mine to my teenage daughters for helping me through.
See, it's rough. So
it's rough.
I do want to say though, motherhood is not all bad.
It's not all bad. There's good things.
There
are blessings.
Yes, it is a blessing. I just want to say that because I don't want people thinking, oh, it's just a bad thing.
Oh no, it's great. They give you proud moments.
I was happy to have my baby. I'm just still team one.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
You just team one and done. Like my girls, both my girls are in junior year, but they're both like they both have no class. One have one class to finish next year. One have none. So they're going to be taking like dual enrollment. One of them saved $4,000 cash and bought a car. Like they make you proud to be a mama. I'm still working on that boy, but I still keep in mind I was young with him. He grew up with me, and he a boy. So I'm just trying to handle him a different way.
So I have a question about society pressure that placed on that. Society pressure that women experience as either a mother or not being a mother. What do you guys think?
And that's wrong. I have a friend with no child, and like she got pregnant before, lost the baby. And I hate when people always, when you gonna have kids, because just like Carla said, some people can't, or they have to go through too much to do it and they don't think it's worth it.
Right.
So stop judging who has kids, because it don't matter. Somebody might have a child and not be the best mother, but someone with the child maybe we can do the swap thing. Someone without a kid can help you raise your child to help you out a little bit or something. But you never know.
Motherhood is different for different people. And, some people are mothers, but not just with their own child. Their mother, their niece, their nephew,
Right.
I'm a teacher, so I have students that I mother. They don't, I didn't birth them, but they mine,
I commend y'all teachers too.
Yeah, very careful about judging people's decision about motherhood, if they want to be a mother or not, because it's not for everybody. Some people just don't want that responsibility, and that's okay. I just feel like in society, when we get to a certain age, especially women, we get to a certain age and they automatically assume that we should be either two things: married or with children. It's like, you're not married yet. Where's your husband, girl? It's like, hold on, you know what I've been through. I'm not ready for it. Slow your roll.
That's the next one.
But I'm so glad that I know that there's other women out there that waited longer, because I waited until I was 27 to have my first child.
Yeah,
so, and they was like, when you
that's really normal. Some of us just too young
right now. I don't want to just have my child with anybody.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
my oldest sister is 48 and I'm 39. And my brother is the youngest at 38. Our kids are older than hers. She had her first at 32 and her second at 34. But I could say she did have miscarriages. But people don't know your personal business. So she always got that. Your little sister got kids. You ain't got none. You don't know what people reason.
That's how they did me.
That's exactly how.
I was 16 and 20.
But no, you didn't. You said I was 16 and 20.
I was in high school.
But I think 27 is a good age. Really the normal age. It's not normal. I mean, I did good after 20, but it's not normal to have a child at 20. That's really not the normal age. 27, 30 is really the good ages where you have yourself together more. And I want my kids to be that age. So
I will have to
high school.
I didn't have my child until I was 24. However, I will say that culturally, women are actually in different cultures are expected to have children at a younger age, because then they're more vibrant and able to run after the child, take after the child. And that's why in some cultures that if they're over the age of 40, like for example, I think in India, they have to sign a guardianship or a waiver to have a kid, because they're considered too old to have a kid. And I think it is also culturally too that determine what's the appropriate age, or I won't even say appropriate, but what age somebody should have a child at. And so, but anyways, I see we have a lot of comments about this.
Yes, I'm about to. We got into it. Everybody got stuff to say about being a
now I can see the comments.
I'm gonna try to read this one. Bear with me. I'm still, because my only child I had at 20 years old. I'm 46-year-old now. I was new in the military. Whoop whoop. Thank you for your service, and went through many issues because of the protection of society and white males. I was told not to have him, but I did, and I am happy I did. Kudos to you. He graduated from college. Didn't cause any issues, and is now active duty military officer.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, snaps to that mommy right there. Okay. There is no perfect mother, no matter how much you try to be.
Be the best version of the mother you can. Be your best version.
One and done. There you go, S&M. She with you.
My mom.
Yes. Okay, we say, wow, I would have been done. I know a lot of these stories. I mean, something was trying to be done, but it still happened. It was in God's will.
I thought I was done. I was 37 with her. I'm like, I still can get pregnant, like for real.
Yes. So look, we about to talk about the subject that everybody know women like to talk about. So get them fingers ready, ladies who's watching.
What is it?
Let's talk about Black women struggle with men and relationships.
Ooh.
Men
Where's the
and
handbook? Help me.
relationships. So Tana, I'm gonna put it on you because you're talking about stuff like this.
It's I just don't know the solution. Like I seen my grandparents be married 50 something years. My parents were married 20 something years before they get divorced. I've just seen it all ways. I've seen somebody that wasn't married in a relationship with someone 20 something years happy. So there's really no solution. It just the person that you love has to love you back and be willing to be just as loyal as you. I've never been married, even though I have 4 kids, but yet I have friends who've been married who hasn't been happy their whole marriage. So that's not what I want. If I'm gonna get married, let's just make it happy. I think part of the problem is some men, okay, you got different types of men. You got the type of men who they probably don't make as much, so they might be intimidated if a woman make more. Then you got the ones that make the big money that want to run the show and get all the other different women because they making the money, so they feel like they can run the household. Like I've seen so much examples of people who I thought was happy for years and then found out somebody was cheating or had an illegitimate child. I've learned that Facebook is nothing but a facade. The ones who post that they're happy the most are probably the most miserable. I don't know. But I just like when you know stuff behind the scenes, there's just no solution. Help us, mama. So I don't know. I've seen happy marriages, non-happy, good relationships. I just think the main problem, like someone said, what we need to do, whatever we want, we need to figure it out and stick to it and don't let nobody wiggle in, because that's the problem. Men can sweet talk and wiggle their way in, and we just need to stand our ground on some stuff.
I agree. Stop to that. Sheena, how do you feel about a black woman with relationships and men?
Lord, where do we start? There's really no right or wrong answer to it because it all depends on the person. There's no, oh, it should be this way, it should be that way. I can say for my struggles, a lot of times we go into the relationships looking for the wrong things we're not healed for. Sometimes we settle because we want to be comfortable and we don't want to start over. Or we've seen our parents be in this relationship and this would happen, so maybe this is how our relationship should go. So I just kind of feel like this. A lot of times a relationship is all about who shit you gonna deal with, because everybody comes with something. So it depends on who is perfect for you. It's not a perfect person. It's who's gonna fit in your comfort zone and your peace and not even make you happy, but you can be happy with. Because you should already be happy going into your relationship because you bring your happiness for yourself, not looking for happiness. And sometimes we go looking for stuff instead of coming and bringing together.
Bringing what we want.
Exactly. And see, we miss it when you go look for it because we looking for them to bring this to the table, or can he take care of this? The thing about it is, what are you bringing and how can you connect together and actually communicate and understand each other to benefit, to love each other, to learn each other? Because if you don't sit and have the conversation to learn who you actually with, that's when you find everything else later because you're so quick to jump into a relationship. So that's kind of funny too.
Yes.
So a lot of times it's just sitting back and really back in the days and actually dating the person, talking to the person, getting to know them as your friend first, and not just hip hop and say, oh yeah, I want to lay down with him tonight.
Right.
It's okay to do those things, but make sure you know who you lying down next to. Because I always heard this claim: lay down with dogs, you get over fleas. So that was the things I've lived by. So it's always was all right. Who you laying down with tonight? Is that truly what you want to deal with? Is that who you want to be with for the rest of your life? Like, you have to ask yourself these questions before you get involved, because you got to think about the spirits that you connecting yourself to. You gotta remember all this stuff is gonna be attached to you. And does this person have the same goals that you have? Are y'all going the same direction? So it's all about how your mindset is with that person. It's all about knowing who you bringing into your peaceful space. You should always prepare your space for you, not for them. You got to make sure you're comfortable with what's going on, and nobody's not forcing you into anything else that you don't want to be in. Because you'll have people that be like, they ready to date you, and you're not ready to date, but then you like them, so you's like, oh well, let me date them. Don't rush into something if you're not ready for it. Don't have
Right.
nobody force you into something that you don't want to be in. Prep yourself for what you truly want to be in, and love yourself first. And I think you'd be perfectly fine.
Yes.
Okay. Hey. All right.
Good
Esther,
answer.
it's on you.
Oh, you said it's on me?
Yeah, Miss Jones, it's on
Okay,
you.
so I'm going to say this. I have lots of opinion on that.
I know. I love it. Come on, share it.
And so some people may be offended by what I may say next.
And we don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah, say it.
I'm just giving the disclaimer because that's what I do. I gotta stay politically correct or somewhat correct. So disclaimer, some people may be offended. So first of all, I think that a lot of women jump into relationships with the wrong expectations. And I think when you enter that relationship with the expectations, then that sets you up for failure if y'all already haven't had that discussion, like Sheena mentioned. So for example, what I found is that women be wanting this guy who, or some women, we'll put it that way, some women want this guy who has like swag on 100, right? Where he got this nice ass, he's this bad boy, and then they enter the relationship thinking that they're going to change him, where he's just going to be a bad boy for them. But that's what was attracted to them. That's what they wanted. And then when they get hurt, they're shocked because they're like, but I thought he loved me, but he was a bad boy and you try to change him. If he didn't change for X, Y, Z, why would he change for you? He'll change when he's ready to change. He'll change on his own time. Don't put him on your time because your time ain't his time. The other one is when women in a relationship with men who have like a litter of kids, right? But by all different baby mamas. And so what happened is they also get into that relationship thinking that this guy, when they have a kid, he's not going to treat them the same way. They're going to be like, oh, this is the kid. This is
like, why are you shocked?
Exactly. And then when he move on to the next person, now they're like, but I had your kid with some of these other 10 baby mamas.
Right.
And so what's your expectation when you enter that relationship? And then not only your expectations, but did y'all talk about the expectations with the guy? So there's a super big thing now where it's just Netflix and chill, right? Because we're in COVID time. So people are loving this, especially cheap men. They're like,
chilling on Netflix.
COVID time. You know, COVID times was the best thing that happened. We're going to call it the frugal man now. And so, with that being said, then so they're thinking they're in a relationship, and the guy is like, "No, we just Netflixing and chilling."
And you're so right about that conversation. Like, you can't think you're in a relationship with somebody. Did y'all talk about this?
Exactly. And so then they be like, "Well, I don't want to put labels on it." And then the female is like, and this is traditionally a lot of females will only have sex with one partner, right? And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but traditionally, most women will only have sex with one partner, perhaps, right? And where he's bearing his snake and his dog and every bone in the yard, finding new holes to fill. Like, when she finds out, because she's like, well, what happened? I thought we were in a relationship. And his response is, no, we never talked about that. We was Netflixing and chilling. And so I think that for us, we have a tendency because we automatically, for the most part, we accept people at face value until we get to that point where we're really hurt, until we get to that point where we reflect on ourselves and say, well, no, let me think about if this is the relationship I want. If we're going the direction before we start asking those questions that Sheena mentioned, we take people at face value. And so what we need to do is have that conversation, because if we don't have a conversation, then we don't know. I think it's always fascinating when people are like, oh, he's a player. And you heard he was a player. Everybody and their mama told you he was a player. The whole neighborhood knew he was a player. And then you get with the player and you're like, dang, why he played me like that? And you know, it's like, but wait a minute, did you hear the same thing I heard? When we all come out here a player? You know, did you miss the memo? Did you have some wax in your ears?
I think everybody just think they're different. He's not going to do it for me.
They think they're the one who's going to change it. And so unless you have that conversation and you're ready to ask those questions that about where you're going to go with this relationship, but even that self-love and self-reflection for yourself, then that also defines what you're willing to accept. So I think that a lot of times is having that initial and understanding that our expectations is not the same as the guy expectations, right? When I got with my husband, he thought it was weird because he asked like 20 questions before we even slept together. It was all about a lot of people thought it was weird, a lot. But look, I would admit, my question was,
smart.
Do you have any diseases in your family? He's like, what diseases? I said, yes, I need to know if you have mental diseases, if you have like breast cancer or something in your family. And he's like, why are you asking me all this? I'm like, what's the average height in your family? And he was like, it's like
different, but nothing wrong with it.
You know? And I was like, because we lay it down to procreate, even though we're using it for recreation. And so this in case I slip up, then I need to know who I'm slipping up with and what's in your family history and what's you like it. And we're not going to meet your parents. I don't care if it's the second date. I need to know what they like. You know? And so it was just one of those things where setting expectations, knowing who you are, knowing your worth, and what you're willing to accept, and having that conversation, I believe, is what will help with that whole Black woman relationship struggle that we seem to have.
That was a great answer.
S&M, I don't know why you be thinking you need to apologize. I love your personality. I love your answers. Give her some snap.
It was great answers. Because it's the truth. When we're younger, we might not understand that, but at a certain age, common sense should be a little common.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, Carla, go ahead, sis.
They took all my answers. No. You know, women in relationships, I think, evolve. So what you wanted when you was a teenager is different in your 20s. Of course, it's definitely different in your 30s and 40s. But I think we're in an age now where, for us, especially Black women, they're trying to convince us that we have to have a certain type of relationship. So when we have social media, we see relationships all the time, right? Relationship goals. We see the Beyonce and Jay-Z, and we see all these celebrities have all these great relationships, and we want that for ourselves. But is it really what we want for ourselves? Like, do you actually know what do you really want? Like, have you sat down and really made a list of what do I want my partner to have, right? What I want them to bring to the table, and do I actually have these same things as well? So we can match each other or align with each other. And so like she said, when we go into these relationships with expectations that are not met, that's when we get our hearts broken. I'm guilty. I feel like I could change a man. I felt like here I am, an educated woman, you know, I think I'm cute.
You are.
You know, I thought, you know, even though he was the bad boy, I just felt like I had more to offer. And I thought if I did everything and show him that he had a good woman that could do all these things, that he would eventually change. It didn't happen. Like you said, you know, men change for who they want to change for, and they'll do it on their own time. So you have to make sure that you have an open communication with people that you're trying to have a relationship with. Be honest with each other up front. You know, are you looking for me to be your girlfriend, your fiance, your wife, or like you said, are we just here to, you know, Netflix and chill? But you won't know that until you have that conversation. You have to open that feels scared. Ask their family history. Do you have a disease? You know, how many girlfriends you got? You know, just having that expectation.
And you got to be specific when you make kids.
Yeah, gotta be very specific. But also with sexuality with women, you know, are we exploiting ourselves or are we exploring ourselves? Or is it expectations a difference, I think? In now where we do all these challenges and men just see objects, you know. When you meet guys, sometimes that's a first thing expected. Well, you all see, you know, busting it wide open. Why you know, try to make you, you know, someone to be serious with. Again, you have to have those expectations. You have to have that conversations and understand that the men that you meet, especially as a single mom, like for me, when I get out there and start really dating, I got to be careful because I have a son and I have a daughter. And I can't just bring any Tom and Jerry around my kids.
To the house.
Right, because I don't want my daughter to think that that's appropriate to have, you know, different gentlemen coming into your house. And I don't want my son to think that that's okay to have different women in his life, you know. So I think it's very important. Dating as a mother is going to look different. The older you get, dating is different as well. But knowing who you are, knowing your expectations, knowing your value, your worth, I think will help in building meaningful, relevant relationships.
Yes, I love how you talked about it from the single mom point of view too.
And we need to learn, like they said, we need to learn to do a different. We used to like the swagger in the younger years. We need to learn to check out the different people, different types.
Be open, that's never, I'm used to the thugs in the streets, but now I want somebody that's more grounded, that's more professional, that has a strong head,
steady pay,
that will take care of himself and take care of me, be respectful to my children. Like I said, we have kids trying to date. That's an extra layer because you got to make sure that person is not a pedophile, that person's not, a child abuser. There's other things you have to dig into when you're dating, especially, as a mother.
Yeah, they don't even need to know where you stay or meet the kids until we know it might be real.
Period. Amen.
Period. Amen to that.
Something good that I think it's important to be single sometimes. Like you don't have to rush into a relationship. I think sometimes we feel like I met him, we gotta be together. No, you can be single and date and communicate and talk and go places and do things. Get to know each other. You don't have to always rushing and be a boyfriend, girlfriend,
and date multiple people. Like people talk about Lori Harvey. Oh, she's a hoe because she dated 3 people in her life and she's 23. You have to date more than one person, and you can date without sex. One person can take you out to eat. One person phone Zoom.
Yes, I agree.
I agree.
I was gonna say this. We need to let the start letting the world tell us what love's supposed to look like.
Right.
It looks different for you and for me. I've been married before, all my kisses didn't start with K. Nobody went to Jared for me. But I was married before and it was good. But I didn't get no kiss from K or Jared either. So quit thinking what the world says it's supposed to look like or be like. Do you?
Amen.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. They didn't took all the good answers.
They took all the good answers.
I love mama answers.
My biggest thing is communication, though. If you don't tell somebody something and like something that you don't like, they won't know unless you tell it. Right. So communication is very important.
Yes,
I agree.
I want to say too. What do you want your first date? Y'all both get an AIDS test. Do that.
You said, but first date, we both get an AIDS test.
Before sex. You can get the results in 15 minutes now. So
support that. No, you're not before the first date.
No, before you think about sex.
You funny.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
For me, I would say with the date, because the dating thing, I definitely think a lot of us women are so quick to be in a relationship, we never even take the process of dating. That's why we don't even. And
Netflix and chill.
That's probably why some black women really don't even know the definition of dating. Because when you say dating, you automatically think sex. That don't mean that's what dating is.
No.
Dating is we going out on dates, we getting to know each other, we're chilling as friends. That's what dating is. Because before, when I was with my baby daddy, as I call him, we dated for almost 3 months before we actually became boyfriend and girlfriend. Our first date was at Chuck E. Cheese. I have no shame in my game, okay? He knew I liked to play games, so we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and he brought all them coins for me, okay?
That's sweet and different, too.
Yeah, because our thing was video games, so we got to know each other. I will say this, though. When it comes to dating too and relationships with black women, we need to listen to our gut feeling the first time.
Yes.
I feel like
Agreed.
a lot of us drop our standards down because we like that person.
Right.
We want them to like us. And you don't listen to that gut feeling. And the gut feeling told you, should you really be messing with this dude? Is he faithful to you?
Run.
And then you tell
as my grandma would say, run.
And then you compromise with yourself. I feel like we gotta stop compromising ourselves when it comes to us dating somebody because we want to be with somebody.
Yes.
Because they're cute or whatever
Totally agree.
qualities.
Yeah,
Ooh.
because I feel like when you don't listen to that gut feeling, and I realize in all my relationships, them gut feelings was the worstest breakup. Them was the ones where they lied to me like a dog, played me so heavy, and
Yep.
I had the most broken heart from that because I didn't listen to
Right.
that.
We knew better.
I
We knew
should have
better.
listened. So listen to them gut feelings, sis. That's all I'm
Yes,
saying.
especially at this age.
Feel that gut feeling, and
Yeah.
he's sitting next to you. Don't look at him now, but tomorrow you might want to go.
You know?
We'll see how you feel later.
Yeah, you know, and then if you pray, this is another thing because I had a friend. I said, "Well, pray on it. If you pray on it and God's telling you to go, stop trying to say, well, Lord, show me one more time. Now, he done showed you once.
Right. Don't make him show you too hard, the too hard
Now, the
way.
third time, it's going to be something outrageous because he said, I need to make it extreme then so you can really understand it. Because you asked me to show you. I'm going to show you because I asked God, I kid you not, one time. Soon as I asked him that night, he showed me. It was
God
that
don't play.
No,
And
he
it-
don't. He don't.
He did something I didn't even expect him to do. And I was just like, well, dang, Lord, that was fast. And I could hear God in my mind, like, try to compromise this one now. There was no way to compromise it.
Yeah, like God, I didn't know you would work today.
Yeah, so if you asking and you feel that gut feeling, let's
Make
stop
sure you want the
compromising
answer.
ourselves,
Right.
you know, and make sure you really want that answer. And I'm gonna show this comment that somebody left.
Okay.
Some men don't know how to handle us, heal women. They know what they want. Well, yeah, they know what we want. They say they do, but then they lie or handle us. That's true.
That's true.
So
That's true,
we
Tanya.
got to continue to be okay and not settle. Celebrate your singleness.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ain't
No
no
settling. And a lot of reason people settle is because all their sisters, all their friends, everybody got a man.
Right.
But if you're really honest and they talk to you about stuff, you'll see half of them not even happy. So do what's gonna make you happy.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Well, we are about to do our last question for the night because we are going into our second hour.
Oh yeah.
Our last question is what I'm going to say is the tea time question of the panel. So let's do our tea time question. I forgot to have my bell. Oh well. Anyway, tea time.
I think I have a bell. Let me
This
see.
is not answering the question on a personal level, so there's no right no
Okay.
answer. So, on the question that everything we talked about for a Black Woman Struggle panel, the tea time question is, what's something that hit you hard as a woman that you wasn't ready for? What's something in life that hit you hard as a woman that you was not ready for? Did you want to go first, Sugar Mama? I never let you go first. I'm gonna let you
Yeah,
go
let her
first.
go first.
My answer's going to shock y'all, though, because it just came to my head. I'm just going to say what the first thing that came out.
Okay, say first
Is
thing.
that first thing that I was shocked for is that I wasn't expecting to be here to be a grandma without my mother.
That's real.
Yeah, I can agree.
That's real. Is it hard for you, Mom? Okay. We're gonna let her feel that for a minute. I agree, Mom. I'm sorry. That's true. And I'm sure there's a lot of women that went through that didn't expect that to happen either. Because we always expect our mom to be here when we have our children, but I'm sure
Yes.
a lot who become grandmoms, they wish that they could have their mom see their grandchildren as well. So
Yeah, to skip to that answer, I'll kind of add that like for my other three kids, like I said, when my stomach bust or everything happened, I did have my mom. But for her, I didn't have my mom or grandma because they both had passed. So that made this one kind of the hardest because if you ain't got nobody else, you got mama and grandma. So I feel her pain. That does hit hard. But I think since she kind of gave that answer, I'm gonna give a second answer. It hit hard. Like I was in a relationship for 7 years, and before that I was in a longer relationship on and off with their dad. But this one was straight through. This was someone who put on a facade. You know, losing long time relationships hit hard, and then I think it hit harder after the breakup when you start hearing stuff. You know, when you start feeling like I was so naive, I had no clue. You know, you just feel like, am I really that stupid that I didn't know all of this? You know, so it hits hard when you feel like you've been fooled. And I wouldn't say the whole time, but like the last couple of years, I felt like, okay, was I blind or was everybody seeing it but me? You know? So yeah.
Carla, what about you?
I think what hit me hard, I wasn't prepared for, was in college, I was raped. And I didn't disclose it until I wrote my book, because I had kind of suppressed it and buried it and felt like, you know, it was tough. Like I didn't want to face it, but I had to, because I had to heal it. Like it was still eating at my soul and at my gut. And that was something I wasn't ready for, because I didn't think it would happen to me. Like I've heard about other stories, you know, you watch movies and you have, you know, I was in college, so I went to these different programs where people told their story, and I sat there and listened, but I never thought that it could happen to me. And so when it did happen to me, that did something to my spirit, because not only was I raped, but it was by somebody that I actually knew and hung around. And so that made it even worse, because I had to face my rapist, you know, daily. I saw him on a daily basis for a while before I distanced myself and kind of went to a depression and kind of isolate myself. So I think that hit me hard, in understanding that I had to forgive myself for feeling guilty that it happened to me, and not for speaking my truth when it really happened, because you know, my worst fear is that because I didn't say something then, he could have done it to somebody else. And if I would have fucked up, maybe I could have, you know, prevented somebody else from having to go through that. So yeah, that was something that I wasn't prepared for, you know, to handle and to go
Sorry
through.
that happened to you. I know that had to be hard.
You know,
Thanks for the bravery for sharing that.
And now that I'm able to talk about it, you know, and I've grown so much because I was able to actually reveal it and start working on it, heal it, forgiving myself, you know, and also forgiving him, because I don't want him to have any more power over me. By not saying anything and hiding it, he had control over that. And when I finally was able to reveal and let that go, you know, I feel way better. Like I'm actually free from that. That's no longer a shackle around my feet. So.
Whoa, that's
a lot.
Thank you for sharing, Carla. We really appreciate you sharing your story. S&M, like y'all blow me away with these answers. I wasn't ready. Goodness gracious. All right, Mrs. Jones, go ahead, blow me away. Your turn.
Let's see. So what hit me hard? There's a lot of things in life that hit me hard. I have a similar story to Carla, except I think what hit me hard was the fact that I rationalized it and blamed myself, in the sense that I end up justifying the actions because I thought I brought it on myself. But I think the part that hit me the hardest was when I sought justice. It was at school, on campus. And when I sought justice, I was told that I would most likely be expelled from the campus because I invited the person into my dorm room. And I talked to one of it was like they laid out why it was impossible that this could have happened to me. And concluded with I was a freshman, and this person was Mr. Popular for this particular class, and he had all these other options. We'll put it that way. And, right. So it was the police on the student police campus, whatever, telling me that that's impossible. It didn't happen the way you said it. You had to have wanted it. You invited it. So then I just started a whole rationalization process of, well, maybe I did. It made me doubt myself. So I think the fact that, and that's why in my first book, I actually do talk about rape and domestic violence, because 1 in 3 are raped, 1 in 5 sexually molested, 1 in 7 for, I think it's now 1 in 20 for boys now. It used to be 1 in 7 for boys.
What do you think? I'm not getting no more food.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
check
think,
out your book too.
Yeah, so I think that's what part of my way of coping with it was I put it into a story, and that's fiction, and it's not, the whole story is not even about me, to be honest.
No, you just put a little part in,
but put some portions of it in it, but I think that's what I wasn't prepared for, was the animosity from the people who's supposed to be law enforcement and the school board.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing.
Bravery.
Thank you. Wow. That was deep. And a lot of women go through that, where we tell and share and ask for help, and they make us feel like
bad.
we did something wrong.
Yeah.
So I know exactly how you feel, because I was in that position as where they made me feel wrong. Like it was my fault. A cop told me I was wrong. So I know exactly how you feel. Sheena, it's on you.
I could say the thing that smacked me in my face is actually going through domestic violence, not once, but twice. And the second time I was stalked. So to say my life is on the line because somebody didn't want to let me go. And in the midst of that, I'm dealing with 3 different health conditions, and I'm a mother of 2. That's a lot. So it's a wake-up call to wake up every morning being in pain and learning how to heal after all the other pain that I still had to deal with in the midst of the storm. So that was like a reality check. My first domestic violence was actually my baby father. So it's like, who wants to actually be strangled while you're holding your kid in the hand? Or who wants to be strangled while you're pregnant?
Wow.
Those were some wake-up calls.
Ooh, the struggle is real.
Hopefully listening will help someone else going through what I went through.
Yes, that's what this panel is for. All of us women been through some stuff.
Yes.
We're real right here. And I'm sure that whoever's watching live or on the replay, that this is going to help somebody else.
All age groups here.
Yes. So, Sparkling Eyes, what was hard for you? What hit you the hardest that you didn't expect as a woman?
Well, mine is finding out who I really am. Like for a long time, even in school, I was the girl that did, I was smart. I was the tallest in class. I was more developed than everybody. So people would pick on me. People picked on me through elementary school all the way through high school. So I didn't know who I was. I was always labeled the smart girl, and that was all. I couldn't play sports or be a cheerleader or anything like that. So I was trying to find out who I really am. And I'm more than, I stopped doing, when I got in high school, I didn't act smart. Like I knew the answers, but I would always give the wrong answer because I didn't want
you dumbed yourself down, kind of.
Yeah, I don't want the attention on me. You know what I mean? I got picked on for so long. I was like, I don't want to be bothered with that. But now that I'm older, I'm 33 years old, I'm finally coming into who I really am. So that was hard for me.
I'm gonna give a big smile for you on that.
Glad to see you on here with your mommy and sister.
Yeah, she found her voice, because for real, the old Lisa would not even be doing this. No. She don't really talk to people.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, so the new.
We're proud.
Lisa Sparkling Eyes. She found her voice. Yay. For me, what hit the hardest for me was I didn't know that we had to go through so much ish. I'm just being real, because it seemed like, okay, this hit me, and then this hit me. Okay, I might give you a year, but then I might not. 2 days later, here comes something else.
Right.
And then it's just like, okay, I'm about to break. Can we slow down? No, we can't, because now the bills due.
Something else
You gonna
coming.
get your money to come through. Your mama's sick. Oh, not only is your mama sick, but your sister needs your help. And then something personally happened to you. And then family members try to attack you. It's just like,
Right.
I didn't realize my mom used to act like she had it so much together. Okay. She didn't let me know as much.
Right.
So when I became
Now you
a
see.
woman, I realized that everybody gonna try to get up in your business. Everybody who you think trying to help you ain't trying to help you.
They
And
gonna
that's
judge
what I
you.
mean by we go through so much stuff emotionally and all that. And then people look at us when we have a breakdown or something like, well, what the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Right. You.
Like, all y'all's wrong with me. Okay. I just didn't realize we had to deal with so much. And even when we're dealing with stuff as mothers, as women, as wife, we always got to find a way to pick ourselves up and still.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people can sit down, and no offense to men, but even dads, they can say, I ain't getting up, the baby crying, I'm tired. But as a mother, whether we got
They
1
know
hour,
mama
2
coming.
seconds of sleep, we got to get our butt up. We're always the woman where if whoever don't do their job, we the ones who got to fill it. I learned that as a woman. I'm just like, that's a lot of ish for a woman to do. So you're telling me if grandma don't do her job or my sister don't do her job or uncle, I gotta fill in?
Right.
Somebody gotta do it.
Right.
And we got somebody. So if my kids don't clean up their room, I gotta clean it up. Because it's my house. I want my house to be
Right.
clean. I might whoop their butt.
Somebody gonna be in trouble, but yeah.
Still have to clean it up.
Yeah.
But that's still my point. I did not expect that
So
I
much
had to deal with
responsibility.
so much ish. I thought I just had to raise my kids, pay my bills, live my life.
Nope.
Okay? No, it ain't like that. Okay? Not to say you can't enjoy life.
But you just
can,
gotta know how to deal.
But
Yeah.
you
The
gotta
boundaries.
you have to go through some ish even before you find a way to find your own peace. Because then
Absolutely.
you gotta learn who to cut off, who not to talk to, who to allow in your castle, who not to allow in your castle. You gotta go through some ish just to find out how to have peace.
Right.
So there is no way to even go around going through some ish. You gotta go through
Period.
it.
And hopefully not too long, but you're going through it.
So I realized that because in my opinion, even though we're talking about Black women, I believe that for all women.
Yes.
We gotta
go through a little more, but all women go through it.
We got it harder, and I don't understand why men get paid more when we working and got the babies and cooked your dinner when we came home from work. Why you get paid?
We ain't gonna talk about that. That's why I'm spending the weekend finishing up my book, Black Girl in a Corporate World, because men get paid more, we work more, we get paid less. It's just a lot.
Yeah. So I want to thank you all for being on the panel. Give yourself some snaps. We did it.
Take a sip of whatever you drink.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
You are
you.
so welcome. And what I'm going to do, because this was so good, and
Yes.
I enjoyed myself.
Yes.
Y'all stay tuned, because we're going to come back this summer, and we're going to talk about the Black woman struggle again, because
Okay.
there's a lot of stuff we got to go through. It ain't enough. It ain't enough. And I'm going to use the same women on this panel.
Let's do it.
So we're going to do it again. So y'all stay tuned. We'll do it. Huh? Yeah, who you want to give a shout out to? Daddy, you said?
Yeah, you gotta.
Okay, give Daddy a shout out. Go ahead.
He's a good daddy and a good papa too. Took him school shopping.
Yeah, he did take me school shopping today. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, he's a good dad.
Maybe you can invite a man or two, and they can talk about their struggles a little too. Even though we still go through it more, but
what I will do is we'll talk about the Black men and women struggle, And let's use 2 women from the panel and 2 men from the panel, and then we'll do a part 2 with 2 women and 2 men again.
Or you can do it separate. You can do one with just men or one with just us.
So we gonna figure it out, but we gonna do it. Okay.
We can do it through
Okay.
platform and
Let's do this now.
Well, y'all, I hope
no argument.
I hope you enjoyed this special
You might cut me off.
for Black Women Struggle.
Okay.
I'm gonna let the women introduce themselves one more time and the book that they have, so if you can go get it, because you know sometimes people just got like your personality to read what you got. Okay. And I'm sure people done found out who y'all are and like, man, let me read about their book right there. So Sheena, let's start with you. Tell them your book and where you can go get them.
Hi,
Again,
you said Sheena. Who did you say?
Sheena. We're gonna start with you.
I'm back.
Hi, I am Sheena Ganine, author. My first book is The Mask Behind the Mask, which is a book of poetry and spoken words that I put together for people to love all their imperfections. My second book is Unveil the Broken Pieces of a Mask, which is a spinoff which gives you ways to break off the mask and love who you are inside and out. And the anthology that I'm with is called Speak Out, and that is also all on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Yes. S&M Jones. Tell them your book and where they can go get it.
So my latest book is Black Women Need Love Too, and this is a historical perspective on the Black woman's relationship with herself and others and how we've internalized stereotypes to the detriment of our community, as well as to the detriment of ourselves, and ultimately to the detriment of unity, which basically translates to lack of power in the U.S. because we've basically just we'll just say it was divisive. But anyways, I was about to go on a tangent and start an entire new conversation. I had to realize that no, this is just plugging the book. So Black Women Need Love Too. This is the book once again. And I also have Whispers in the Dark series, which is a psychological thriller / horror. I actually consider more thriller versus this is 1 and 2. And so basically the hero is about a serial killer, but I wanted to have somebody who looked like us because normally in serial and horror movies, we're the first one killed off. We're like the fodder. We're in books. We're not even in there. And so I wanted to make a book or a series that's based on us. And as with all my books, I have a theme. And thus, that one is particularly is rape, domestic violence, as well as child molestation. So even though we're talking about, even though it's fiction, I like to wrap in those topics as well. All the books can be found on Amazon as well as Barnes and Nobles and in the iBookstore for, I think I can't remember which one. But anyways, and Black Women Need Love Too, though, is only available on Amazon. And if you want to get it in the store, you have to go request it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Carla, my superstar, go and tell them where they can go get it.
thank you again. I'm Carly Criswell. I'm the author of I'm Not Leaving You, I'm Loving Me. Okay. I'm not an expert, but I've been through some ish. So I dropped some really good gems in here about the journey of self-love and self-discovery and, you know, the importance of pouring into yourself. The book is available on Amazon, author's copy, on March 14th. So I'm having a book party sponsored by Sunship Publishing, and the ebook will be 99 cents again on March 14th. So if you missed the sale on, Wednesday? Then you can catch it again on March 14th.
All right.
Okay. And we'll remind y'all, because she's coming back March 10th. We'll remind you the next day. All right. So, Tana?
Okay, my first series is the Love, Sex, and a Single Mom series. This is the first part, but it's 3 parts. Actually, the first part will be free on Kindle tomorrow, but it's available on Kindle and paperback on Amazon. It's about dating as a single mom, as we said, like you can't have people around your kids, like just stuff you go through dating. And then I got Beaten by Love parts 1 and 2, but I'm going to be working on part 3 soon. It is a story of domestic violence, a married couple going through domestic violence, what their kids see, what their family see, what their family deal with. Then I have another short series called F Your Family, fiction, but kind of inspired by the in-laws. Like, forget your family. And all my books are available on Amazon and Kindle and paperback, but I got 2 short stories that's just on Kindle called Empty Cradle, inspired by her. about a child missing, and then My Man is Her Man, just inspired by people dating the same men. And those 2 short stories are on Kindle only. But tomorrow on Kindle, Love, Sex, and a Single Mom Part 1 will be free for everyone.
You know we gonna get it. You know we gonna get it. You know we gonna get it. Yeah, you know we gonna get it. All right, everybody. I want to thank all my pen sisters who I love and who are dear to me. Thank you for coming on this panel to spend time with Sister Goose and my family.
We love them.
Yeah.
And I don't even need to say it to y'all because y'all already are Black Girl 8 members. So I don't need to say that loud. Well, everybody, I am your girl, Sister Goose.
And I'm Sparkling Eyes.
And we are Black Girls Inc. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.